Good evening. I'm Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. Well, all eyes were on the U.S. Capitol as a House Select Committee held its first hearing on the January 6th insurrection. The 9-member panel heard testimony from 4 officers who helped protect the Capitol and lawmakers that day. Now, the officers gave chilling accounts of being outnumbered by the rioters. They say they were beaten, sprayed with dangerous chemicals, and verbally attacked with racial slurs.
As a result of that day, we lost officers, some really good officers. But we held the line to protect our democratic process, because the alternative would have been a disaster.
Many of these officers were injured, bleeding, and fatigued, but they continued to hold the line. As I don't have to tell the members in this room, the tunnel is a narrow and long hallway. It is not the sort of space anyone would want to be pulled into hand-to-hand combat with an angry mob. Although the narrowness of the hallway provided what was probably the only chance of holding back the crowd from entering your personal offices, the House, and Senate chambers.
The officers who spoke today are members of the U.S. Capitol and Metropolitan Police Departments. According to reports, more than 150 officers were injured during the insurrection. The state's attorney announces the indictment of a man charged with killing a transgender woman. The suspect is 27-year-old De'Allen Price. He has been charged with the murder of 20-year-old Taya Ashton. As you may recall, Ashton was found shot to death in her apartment in Suitland on July 17th. State's attorney Aisha Braveboy held a press conference in Upper Marlboro this afternoon to discuss the case.
Subsequently, Price was developed as a suspect. And based on records that we've received and conversations that our Prince George's County Police Department had with witnesses in this case, Mr. Allen was charged.
And Price was arrested after being caught climbing onto the metro tracks near Pentagon City. The Centers for Disease Control has updated its masking guidelines again. With the Delta variant surging, the CDC is urging vaccinated people in certain areas of the country to resume wearing masks. According to CDC data, nearly 2/3 of U.S. counties have high or substantial transmission of COVID-19. The guidance, which likely will get some pushback, comes weeks after President Biden declared it a great day in America when the CDC revised its mask guidelines for vaccinated people. The uptick of COVID-19 cases has some residents saying face mask requirements should be reimposed, while Governor Larry Hogan has not issued new face covering rules. In Laurel today, residents say it's time to act. They also say that everyone needs to follow proper safety protocols.
Yes, I do, because it's more deadly and it's more contagious from what I understand.
And what other safety precautions do you think people should be taking right now, with the Delta variant?
Well, same as before, social distancing, wear your mask, keep your hands washed and clean. Stay home if you don't have to go out.
I think it might be necessary, yes, because you don't know what the virus is coming with, so you need to be careful.
Well, here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for our area. The State Health Department has confirmed 309 new cases, including 61 new infections in Prince George's. The positivity rate continues its upward trend. It's now at 2.31%. 2 people have died from the disease since yesterday, and 189 people are hospitalized with COVID. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. Coming up, a cold case from the 1960s involving the death of a 25-year-old woman. We'll have details when we're back in just a moment.
Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is diagnosed with breast cancer. And in that moment, her life changes forever. The toll is great. The need is greater. The need to find comfort in the dark hours. The need to find hope in the cures. And that's why when others look away, we lean in. We're fighting alongside patients because we know one moment can change everything. But we need your help to make more moments of hope possible. Join our fight. Save lives. Because we are all stronger together. Every 2 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. With your help, we can end breast cancer. We are all stronger together.
Welcome back. Well, upheaval on the school board continues in Prince George's as Chair Juanita Miller files ethics violations against nearly all elected school board members. It comes on the heels of those members requesting Miller be removed. As we reported earlier this month, 6 members formally petitioned the Maryland Board of Education to remove her from the board. As for the ethics violations, a committee reviewed the allegations and tentatively concluded that members violated conflict of interest rules. Several of those members have hired attorneys and filed suit, alleging serious procedural missteps and demanding an immediate injunction to block the probe. The next school board meeting will take place Wednesday evening. Prince George's police are investigating the county's 73rd homicide of the year. It happened yesterday. Investigators say the victim was discovered in a car at Columbia Avenue and Camden Street in Landover just after 6 o'clock last night. He had been shot and was pronounced dead at the scene. The incident comes as the police department rolls out its summer crime initiative, Operation Heatwave.
Since the arrival of Chief Aziz, the crime initiative, a new crime initiative has been set in place. And that's really going to take a look at trends in how we deploy troops and how, our resources are allocated throughout the community. And we're going to continue to focus on those trends and however that they need to be addressed, we're going to make those adjustments in real time.
Police have not released the identity of the victim in the Landover homicide. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact police. Well, it has been a murder mystery for nearly 60 years. Who killed Carol Raplain? The Laurel school teacher was slain in the winter of 1963. Now, after extensive research by the Laurel History Boys, the case may be solved.
Her husband, after waiting an hour or so, went to look for her and found her car right over here, about a quarter of a mile from their apartment, which is right behind me.
Kevin Leonard of Laurel History Boys is talking about the cold February night in 1963 when 25-year-old Carol Raplain was first discovered missing by her husband. She hadn't returned home after teaching an adult education class at Laurel High School.
The bright lights were on, the keys were in the ignition, her driver's side window was rolled down about 3 inches, but there was no sign of a struggle inside or outside the car. It was freezing cold. And her purse was gone.
Leonard has been researching what happened to Raplain for 3 long years, combing through newspapers, websites, and even filing a Freedom of Information request with the FBI. After a 2-year wait on the FOIA request, he finally got some answers.
Buried in that were some reports about a soldier from Fort Meade, a guy named John McGee, who had a habit of preying on couples that were in parked cars. And he was a night watchman in a cardboard carton factory right on the Patapsco River, which was only less than 2 miles from where Carol's body was found.
Her body was located weeks later in a remote area of Ellicott City. Leonard began to suspect that the soldier, John McGee, may have pulled Raplain over along that dark driveway in Laurel.
So as a watchman, he had a blue uniform, he had a badge, he had a nightstick, and he used all of this when he was preying on these couples. He was arrested for it a couple of times. The last time he was arrested for it, it was actually on Patapsco State Park property, so that's why the FBI got involved, because that's was considered at the time federal property.
Leonard took his research to Maryland State Police.
I talked to the sergeant who's in charge of the homicide unit, and he went over everything with me, and after a long time and many discussions, he agreed with me that McGee was the guy.
The suspect died of a heart attack in 1965 while in military custody. Leonard says solving the crime, though, doesn't necessarily mean the case is closed.
Without a confession or a trial with a guilty verdict, officially it will always be a cold case.
And you can read the full story in the current edition of Voices of Laurel. And we will have more news in just a moment. Stay with us.
1 in 365 African Americans battle sickle cell disease. I was one of them. Life back then was painful. I was in and out of the hospital and had frequent pain crises. A blood stem cell transplant is the only cure for sickle cell disease. I was fortunate to find a perfect match in my younger sister, but many patients do not have a compatible donor in their families, and Black patients have only a 23% chance of finding an unrelated donor. More Black donors are urgently needed to help save lives. It only takes a simple cheek swab to join the Be the Match registry. Learn more about becoming a donor and access free patient resources by visiting endsicklecell.org today. You or someone you know could be the cure for a patient battling sickle cell, like me.
Right here, baby.
The sooner you recognize the signs of autism, the sooner you can make a lifetime of difference for your child. Start by answering a few simple questions at screenforautism.org.
Thanks for staying with us. Police released the identity of the man who was shot and killed in Suitland early Sunday morning. He is 31-year-old Levon White of Capitol Heights. The shooting happened at the 4500 block of Silver Hill Road. Investigators say a witness transported the victim to an area hospital about 12:30 Sunday morning. He was suffering from gunshot wounds and was pronounced dead a short time later. Anyone who may have information about the incident is asked to contact police. Maryland releases new rankings for how many nursing home employees are getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Overall, there are 35 facilities in the state with at least 90% of the staff members having at least one vaccine dose. Now, data released by the Department of Health shows that one of the 4 facilities with 100% vaccination rates is the Crescent City's Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Riverdale. The bottom 10 nursing homes have rates less than 56%. Many of those are located in Western Maryland. A museum that celebrates the history of a local city is back open. Coming up later this week, we'll take you to the Laurel Museum. After being closed for 15 months due to the pandemic, it opened its doors last month. Some of the exhibits highlight the Black Lives Matter protests, the COVID-19 response, and the history of the city. The executive director of the Laurel Historical Society, Ann Bennett, says the museum has been in the community for 25 years.
We are celebrating our 25th anniversary, so 2021 is the 25th anniversary of the Laurel Museum. It opened in 1996 after extensive renovation, and it became home to the Laurel Historical Society, which had been founded about 20 years earlier in 1975. So starting in 96, it finally had a home to our collections, to our archives, and to the museum. And what's great about it is that every year we tell a different story.
Again, we'll have the full story later this week. Well, now let's get a quick check on our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 71. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 92. Thursday, partly sunny with a chance of an afternoon thunderstorm and a high near 91. And Friday, sunny and slightly cooler with a high near 89. And for your community calendar, the University of Maryland Department of Dining Services is now hiring for fall 2021. Don't miss their virtual recruitment event tomorrow, July 28th from 10 a.m. until noon. Make sure to register today. You can use the link on your screen or visit employeepg.org. And that wraps up our newscast. Thanks for watching. I'm Patricia Vallone. Have a great evening.